Welcome to the Draw Shop's Get Genius podcast, where we talk to today's business influencers to pick their brain and pull out their genius. It's time to get genius.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to another Get Genius episode. Today, we are going to talk about simplicity and complexity. And my expert today is Milana Leshinsky, and she is on a mission to create a simplicity revolution in the coaching, speaking, and entrepreneurial space. So you'll want to pay attention. She immigrated to the United States from the Soviet Ukraine 25 years ago as a classical musician. And despite having zero knowledge of the business world and only a rudimentary understanding of English, Milana taught herself everything she needed to build multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses. And she is regarded by many industry leaders and thought leaders and influencers as a paradigm shifter. And she's once again making waves by leading a simplicity revolution for entrepreneurs who want to grow their business with ease. And she's pretty incredible with her story, what she's come from, and the very simple way that she creates solutions for her clients. And I'm extremely grateful that she's going to be sharing that expertise and her passion and all of the genius that she has with me and with you today. There's a lot of great things that we're going to be covering, like, really understanding what your super skills are and how important that is in growing your business, and not spending so much time on the weaknesses. But even more important is how to understand what your super skills are and what your weaknesses are. And we're going to share a really cool quiz that's super fast for you to take that can let you see exactly where your strength lies. And I just did it, and I kind of want to share with you. I will tell you this. Milana guesses what I am, and I just took the quiz right after I did the interview with her, and she is correct. So you'll have to listen to the interview to find out what that is. You will also get information on where you can receive the book on all of the 6 complexities that there are, and how to really understand what those are within your business and what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and how you can use that information along with what your super skills are to create immense growth within your business and really create that right team to help you get there. We're going to talk about instinct and, trusting your inner guidance in terms of knowing when to make a choice, what choice to make. And we're going to talk about how to get past those feelings of overwhelm and how to feel re-energized about your business, and how you can look at your energy levels and know if you're doing the right thing or not. So I think there's so much great stuff in here. For one, that I love productivity, and I love things that really simplify what you're doing in life and where you should be putting your focus. And that's what this whole conversation is about. I think what's really cool is that right at the beginning, we'll talk about what simplicity is and how there is a misconception on what it is, and really defining what that means and what it should mean for you and your business, and how to really actually obtain growth and achieve goals with so much more ease than we might be accustomed to without even realizing it. Sometimes we don't even realize that we're overwhelmed. We think it's just the norm. But imagine if, things were actually simplified and you could focus on the things that you were really good at, and you actually had a solution for those times when overwhelm does creep up on you, because it's inevitable that it will. Challenges arise, and especially if you want to be somebody who grows, and if you want to have a business that's going to experience growth, then that challenges will come, because that's where growth comes from. So I'm excited for you to listen to the interview. We will have links and everything noted on the show, in the show notes, on the blog post as usual. And enjoy Milana. Hello, Milana, and welcome to the show. And thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you so much, Summer, for having me. I'm excited to talk to you today.
I am really excited to talk to you. I'm a big fan of simplifying things that are complex. So I know we're going to get to the nitty gritty of all of that. But first, to let our audience know a bit about you, you have a really cool and interesting story. So I'd love to hear how you actually got started in what you're doing today.
Wow, that's a big question because I've had so many different businesses. I've sold a few, I've started many new ones again. And what's interesting, my background is not even in business. I actually did not use the word business or was aware of entrepreneurship until I was in my late 20s because I came to America in 1992 as a 19-year-old a classical musician. So that was, my background, and tried to make it as a music teacher here, but it didn't quite work out. And so I started slowly shifting into business, computer programming. The internet was sort of taking over the world in late 90s. And then I just went, completely full out on the internet with my own business in 2002, quit my job and stayed home with my two kids. That was my entrance into the world of entrepreneurship. But wow, it's been 16 years since then. And many businesses later, what I discovered was that the best way to start and grow your business is by using simplicity as your strategy, which is really that simplicity-driven entrepreneurship says that you can scale and grow your business any way you want. You can make as much money as you want, as much impact as you want, without the cost or the sacrifice of your health, relationships, peace of mind, sleep, independence, and all of those things that you actually want as an entrepreneur. But many people end up losing them as a result of owning a business.
Yeah, it's so true. So you obviously learned this through your experience, and then you created a business to help others do the same for themselves in their business.
Absolutely. I actually, about 18 months ago, walked away. Well, I sold half of my company to my business partner and I walked away from it. And it was a $1.4 million company at the peak of it when I was leaving. And people were a little confused why I would do that. And I learned a lot of lessons as a result of running that business, things that work, things that don't. That money isn't everything, that making $1 million doesn't necessarily feel like $1 million.
Right. So true. So
your business and you seem very successful. One day you can wake up and asking that question, is this all there is? And I think that that's what kind of happened to me. I fell out of love with my business and I was done with it. I was looking for, actually, I don't know what I was looking for. That's the thing. The day I walked away from my business, I woke up and I sat in my armchair and I literally felt lost. I didn't know what it is I wanted, but I knew that I didn't want that.
Wow. But that's awesome at the same time, so I think so many people hear kind of that fairy tale story, not, and it happens for people where it's like, I left that business because I knew exactly what I was going to get into and it worked and I'm a success now. It's like this huge, like overnight thing, but it's kind of refreshing actually to hear that you felt lost and you didn't actually know what you were going to be doing. That's pretty scary.
It was scary. I actually immediately started searching for my next big idea, my next business idea. I even started a blog that I called, my next big idea. And I was documenting and blogging about how I was searching, all the lists I was making, the things I want to try and do. And I did a couple of those things on my list. I set in on an orchestra rehearsal, which I've never done before. I've always wanted to see how an full orchestra rehearses the big performance before the actual performance. I got to do that. That was fun. I I wanted to travel a little bit more by train. I did that. I went to Salem to see what all the fuss is about.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So that was on my list. But I still couldn't figure out what I wanted to do in my business, mainly because maybe because I didn't have to. I've had successful businesses for many years, and I wasn't desperate for money. So I was in a very different place, financially and mentally, that I wasn't hungry. And that could be good, and it can also be bad because
Yeah.
I wasn't really open to a lot of things that I was open to years ago. Like, I just want to replace my salary so I could stay with my babies at home as a mom.
Right.
I wasn't in that place anymore. And so everything seemed boring, redundant, been there, done that kind of thing. And also, Summer, I started my business in 2001 at the cusp of internet,
Yeah.
marketing and online entrepreneurship. And no matter what you touched back then, you were the pioneer.
Right. Exactly.
Everything was new and fresh. And 17 years later, no matter what wow, there's like thousands of people already doing this, and I want to do something that's fresh and innovative. So I struggled for sure to find the thing that would be uniquely mine.
Yeah. I think obviously it always comes down to the experience that you have and the things that frustrated you, and those make the most successful business because it's something that you really care about and you relate to other people and the frustrations that they're going through. And so when you actually come up with the solutions that have worked for you, how awesome is it that you get to share it with other people and they feel that it's like a very genuine thing. And I think that just makes, especially in today, like you said, there's so many people doing similar things. There's,
Yes.
what used to be felt so easy, like, oh my gosh, look at me, I'm just building because the competition wasn't so steep. And now, because we can get in front of so many people in such a short amount of time, it's like sprouting up everywhere. And it either works to your advantage if you let it, because it can, or it can kind of stifle you.
Yeah, for sure. And in fact, the dilemma, the challenge right now is not that people don't know what to do or how to grow their businesses. It's that there are too many ways to grow their businesses, too many strategies, tools, books, experts, opinions, advice, platforms, right? You could literally be trying thousands of different things to grow your business. So the dilemma for most business owners right now is, which is the right strategy for me? Which is the right direction for me? And I was sitting at an event, a friend of mine invited me because I just didn't know what to do with myself. I was feeling so lost and so disinterested in everything. But I went to a typical marketing event and I was sitting, just to connect and see maybe something would come to me. And I looked around the room as a speaker was speaking about some advanced marketing strategies, and I knew without a doubt that nobody, well, maybe a fraction of people in the room would actually implement what this guy was teaching.
Yeah.
And then another guy would come on stage and teach something else, and then another and another. And I just felt like this, I felt a deja vu, almost like I'm back in the 90s and all these strategies are being taught and introduced. And like, it's all the same old marketing, recycled stuff, like nothing fresh, everything confusing, overwhelming. And no wonder people are really love their business and to actually grow, make money, grow their audience, because there's just so much that you can do. What should you do, right?
Yeah.
And so that's when the word complexity came to mind, like all of this complexity, this is so complicated. Nobody's ever going to figure out how to actually do these things. And that's the word that when the word simplicity came to mind. And I went home and I bought simplicitycircle.com, started this company. And then my next step was really to figure out, so, if this is complexity, where does simplicity come from?
Yeah.
How can we make our businesses simple? Because simplicity is very subjective. What's simple to you is complex to me, and vice versa.
Well, let's talk about, what does simplicity actually mean? Because if there's people that don't understand exactly what that concept is, then it might not work for them. So
Sure.
Can you define that for us?
Yeah. So first of all, I started a Facebook group called Simplicity Circle. And in order to join, people had to answer a question. What does simplicity mean to you?
Oh, cool.
and I was blown away at what simplicity actually means to people. I have collected like 1,500 responses as people were joining. I was kind of saving their answers and glancing every time like, oh, I didn't think that simplicity might mean that. So it is extremely personal definition for people.
Yeah.
The most common that I saw was so simplicity, first of all, is something that's simple, that is easy to do, easy to understand, like a simple system for something. The next one that I saw very frequently was simplicity is another way to say minimalism, right? So a minimalism-based lifestyle-based business, kind of like only what you need, just the essentials, bare essentials of what you need in business. For a lot of people, however, simplicity meant small. So whenever I would say the word, simplicity-driven business, people would imagine that it's a small business, just making just as much money as you need to live on. So like the minimalistic approach, but specifically small, not making a lot of money. And that is actually not what simplicity means to me. And what I discovered about building a simplicity-driven business is that simplicity comes from your personal feeling of what feels simple to you. And what will feel simple to you are the things that are based on your natural abilities.
Right.
When it's natural to you, when it's one of your super skills, things that come make results come with ease, it feels simple to you, right? For example, for you, interviewing is simple. And so simplicity comes to you from interviewing people. For someone else, they are terrified of interviewing people. They don't know what questions to ask, when to interrupt the guest and ask them the next question, what topics to focus on. Like to them, it's like a whole thing. They need a system. Well, so what questions do I ask, or how do I find guests? Like all of this whole thing of interviewing seems very complicated. It's not natural to them. And it's not to say that they can't learn it, but it's not a natural thing for them. For me, product launches come with simplicity. For most people, product launches is a very complex thing, but for me, it's something not only I've done a lot of times, over the course of my business, launched a new product or program, but I also see the arc of content, the sequence, the launch sequence is immediately born in my mind as I think about how I'm going to launch something.
Right.
For someone else, it's very complex. On the other hand, networking to me is complex. I'm not a networker. I don't naturally network. I'm the kind of person who will kind of sit in the corner until somebody will approach me. I never know what to say. I never know what I want from a networking meeting. So
Yeah.
that is complexity to me. And so simplicity really comes from understanding what comes natural to you and then designing your business around that.
How do you get that understanding? Because, and that might sound, like, well, obviously you just know what you're good at, but we don't sometimes. Like you said, what comes easy and natural to us is sometimes something we don't even look at as a super skill or this great capability that we have. How do you kind of have those aha moments of going, oh, you're right, I am really good at interviewing, or you know what, I'm really awesome at product launches, or whatever it is. How do we get to that realization, that epiphany of, yes, I totally get what I should not be doing and what I should be doing?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I do a lot of that in my programs, within Simplicity Circles. I work with people to help them figure that out, because a lot of times people will say, I am natural at this, but they don't know how to translate it into a profitable business. And that's an important thing, to really understand, right?
Right.
Not to only know what your natural abilities are, but actually be able to translate that into a profitable business. But one of the things that you want to look at is, where are you pushing right now? Where are you pushing in your business to get results? Maybe you're doing certain things because somebody told you should be doing it. Or maybe you're doing it because you are admiring somebody who is very successful, and you're looking at what they're doing and you feel like that's something that you should be doing, but actually it feels hard, and you're pushing. So that's kind of the first sign that it is not your natural ability. And then on the other side of this is, where do results come with ease? Historically speaking, in your life and in your business and anything that you take on, any projects, where have you experienced the most results?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
something to look at very closely. I did a challenge a few months ago called Path to Profit Challenge. And one of the questions for people during the challenge was, where did you generate the most income in your business? And you might generate income even if it's not around your natural ability. Maybe you pushed and finally got it. But as a pattern, as you look at different projects, different activities, and different jobs or businesses that you've done over your lifetime, like for me, it's very clear that creating something, that's where my natural ability lies. Because no matter what I've done in my life and in my business, the common denominator of that is always creating something, whether it's music, a coaching program, a curriculum, a platform, software. I've always created something. That's how it gets me the success that I get to experience. Not networking, not public speaking, not through writing, creating. So that's what it is for me.
Yes. So what are some tips or tools that you have to get people to get past the overwhelm that they experience in business? And I think for me personally, it's kind of an ebb and flow thing. There's times where I feel like, wow, things are really, my team is doing an amazing job. Everything's kind of just rolling so effortlessly. And then there's times where it's like you have all these ideas and you're going through growing pains, and there's, things that you want to shift and change because, especially with the way that the world is today, you are constantly evolving and you have to stay on top of your business in order for it to keep growing. That becomes overwhelming because sometimes there's times where you kind of are called to do the things that maybe aren't your super skills, or you have to find the right people to do that. How does one, keep level?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I like to do is think about, what is a simplicity entrepreneur? I think that that's really important to think about, because simplicity is not only a methodology, it's also a philosophy and a mindset. And a simplicity entrepreneur is someone who looks for ways to grow a business with ease. It's somebody who focuses on the essentials that truly matter, right? Like when you really look at what matters to you from the lifestyle and the meaning perspective, a lot of things will start falling away. And you will see that maybe you should not be doing these projects. Maybe you should be saying more no's to people, right? So simplicity entrepreneurs also love the idea of doing less and making more. So they choose to ignore the noise out there, which we are all surrounded by, from people, from advice, from advertisements, and, trust their own inner wisdom. Like when I really don't know what I should do, the natural response is to start asking around, right? Like, I don't know about you, but I will go around and ask like 20 people, what do you think about this idea? What do you think I should name this? What do I think I should charge for this? What do I think I should do with this project or business, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of like how humans naturally are. My husband will go around like 15 dealerships before he makes a decision which car he wants to buy in from home. And I just think it's absolutely crazy. But that's kind of like how a lot of people will function. And what I found is that the more people you ask for advice, the more confused you'll become.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed that?
Oh, totally. Totally. It's too much information, just makes everything a lot more difficult.
Right. So who is right? Whose advice should you listen to?
Especially when a lot of people actually make a ton of sense. You know, sometimes it's easy to weed out when you go, well, that doesn't really apply to me. But when you're hearing a bunch of different theories that all make sense, but they're so drastically different from each other, it's so confusing.
Absolutely. So, if you think about this in a more logical sense, and realize that many people can be right and many people can be wrong, who do you listen to? Whose advice? Who is the person that you're going to follow? And because anybody can be right and anybody can be wrong, just realize that their advice is based on their own unique experience.
Right.
Or their own unique personality and the journey that they went through. And that's why they're giving you that particular advice. So when somebody says this is the fastest, the easiest, the best strategy ever to grow your business, it's because it worked for them. And they're a completely different person than you are. You don't know what journey they had to go through to get where they are. Maybe they had to work weekends all year long, or maybe they ended up, with a divorce, or maybe they had a heart attack. You don't know really what their experience and their journey led them through to get where they are. So I would say look for growth strategies that bring you real happiness and joy. Like, hand on your heart, is this something that you really want to try and do? So that is a big, big sign of that's something that you should try, is that if you feel drawn to something, not because someone told you should do it, but because you feel drawn to it.
Right.
I always like to give an example. I was terrified of Facebook Live because that's live. Like, you screw up, you're toast.
Yeah.
Right? If you record a video and it's bad, then it's okay. You can always redo one. But I was just so curious about it, and I tried it, and I suddenly felt this incredible flow of energy, knowing that other people are watching right now, that I'm not just speaking to the camera, to no one, but I'm talking to people, and my energy level just went up.
Yeah.
And I suddenly felt like I had a lot more to say. And I didn't need to be perfect because it's live. And if my dog barks, it's okay. And if my hair is sticking up for a second from the wind, it's okay.
Totally. Yeah.
Right.
No, I love that. So
to bring it back to like, how do you get rid of overwhelm, is really ask yourself what feels right to you. Use your own voices, your inner guidance, to making these kind of decisions, instead of trying to ask 20 people or following 10 different success blueprints, because that will get you in a direction of overwhelm, confusion, getting stuck, maybe even quitting, and possibly even building a business that you never meant to build.
Yeah.
The wrong kind of business for you.
It's interesting when you said, in terms of energy, I'm such a big fan of that inner guidance and that intuition that we have. And it really boils down to the energy when you are like lifted up inside, or you're lighting up. It's this feeling you have where you have a lot more energy when there's something you're excited about, or even sometimes when you just think about the right next step or choice to make, like, oh, I know who I'm going to ask for advice on this, and you just get excited about it. Then there's that opposite feeling when you feel that drain inside, where it's
Yes.
like, and it's just not connecting or resonating with you. And I think, so often we overlook that. And we try to talk ourselves away from it because we're trying to say that it's the wrong choice. But, really, if you reflect back to choices that you've made and the energy and the feeling that you had when making those choices, I think you really start to see that pattern of, oh yeah, maybe I should trust my instinct.
Absolutely. I love this quote by Jonathan Fields. He said, creating a simplified business that generates the highest revenue possible doesn't mean not working. And I will also say, it doesn't mean that you don't get to stretch yourself outside the comfort zone. It just means that you're working in the ways that you love and that suit you the best. Finding that, direction that just fit your personality, natural abilities, your super skills, right? One of the things that I do with people is I give them a sort of like a marketing personality assessment, and they get to see which of the 4 personalities they are: teacher, builder, connector, or champion. And if you score high on builder and you've been marketing all your life as a connector because you see other people do it that way, chances are you're so unhappy, you're miserable in your business.
Yeah.
You're not getting the results you want. You're waking up and thinking, oh God, I gotta go and do that connecting and networking and nurturing all, develop something. That's what builders do. They want to build, create. I'm very high on builder, and my secondary is teacher. And so every time I look at people who speak on stage and fill mastermind programs, I'm very inspired. I want to try doing that. But every time I attempted to do that, I failed.
Yeah.
Or it just fell flat. And that's because those people are champions. That's why they're so successful at doing that as far as marketing personality. So yeah, you got to build your business in the ways that embrace you the way you are, without trying to change you, without trying to feel guilty or inadequate about certain things that you're not good at.
Right, exactly. So how long is this? It's like a questionnaire or a test that people are doing?
Yep. If you go to uniquemarketingpersonality.com.
Okay. uniquemarketingpersonality.com, and we'll make sure we have a link to that as well.
Yes, it's a quiz. There's no you don't need to put your name or email or anything. It's just a quiz that you take, and it spits out the results of where you score the highest. And what I do then in my Simplicity Circle program is I take that with people and we go deeper and we apply it to, okay, so based on these results, how should you be using social media? How should you be approaching promotional partners? How should you structure your products and programs? How should you price yourself? Like, all of those things are really impacted by your unique marketing personality, as I call it.
Right. So now when you're working with clients and you are, obviously you have your process that you're going through to determine what is it that they really are good at, what's their super skill. I love that, super skill. Are you also looking at the way that their business is run? Who's in charge of what on their team? What are their financials? Like, how deep do you go?
I mainly focus on the business owner, because
Okay.
you can delegate anything, right? You can build your team around your weaknesses, around your goals. But it's like, what do you do? Because if you're not clear about your role in your business, and most of my clients are solopreneurs, not because they don't have a team, but because the entire business is revolving around their talent, right? Like a coach, speaker, author, an expert on their topic or in their industry, and they're marketing their expertise, they're monetizing and packaging their knowledge, essentially. So these kind of people, they can market themselves differently, they can grow their business differently, their product mix can look differently, and that's what this assessment really guides you towards, right?
Right.
To really understand your core drivers, so that everything you do in your business is designed around that core driver.
I really love this. I love it because like you said, it really does simplify. I love the whole concept of simplicity. I think like we were saying earlier, what causes people to get overwhelmed is really when they're doing things that they don't enjoy doing. And it's just not something that they're really good at. And I think, so often people that, especially entrepreneurs, they think that they need to be good at all of these different things, especially when you're just building a business or starting a business, because it's harder to trust other people to help you and take care of these things, because in the beginning it's your baby, and you want to have control over all of that. But it is so refreshing when you can actually trust. And I'm sure this would be a great test, kind of like we do Colby testing in our business, but this would be a great quiz for team members that you bring on to take, because then you know what their strong suit is and where they should be focused at. Because I've seen that happen as well, where you have this really phenomenal team member who isn't super thriving, but they're so intelligent, but they're not thriving in their position because they're actually in a position that's not their strong suit. And then you shift them into another role that they are really good at. And it's just an amazing change. So I know I just said a whole bunch there, but I just think these are just such great tools to get everybody kind of, if everybody's doing the thing that is their super skill and you bring it all together, I mean, that is simplicity. There's you're really cutting out a lot of overwhelm.
I love that. If everybody's doing what is their super skill, then that is how you create a simplicity-driven business for sure.
Yeah. So it's just, I love the whole concept. I would really love to send all of our listeners to find out more information. And is that at simplicityscircle.com?
Yes, simplicityscircle.com. You get the free book called The Simplicity Principle to understand a little bit more about yourself. And also the book really focuses on where the complexity comes from, because there is no simplicity without complexity. And, we have a lot of, there are 6 complexity traps outlined in the book. And if we become aware of it, then we can really drive our business towards simplicity a lot more. And, a simplicity-based business is really a business that, it's something that is focused on keeping the business simple. An example of that may be, instead of trying to build a big team, like I built a team of 17 people in my previous business that I walked away from. And I see now that was not necessary, that there is another way to do certain things. There's another way to accomplish things. And so understanding where complexity happens for you is really critical in being able to apply simplicity in your business. And simplicity-driven business means that you have more free time, that you love what you do, that you are always connected to the meaning and the purpose of why you do certain things, right?
Oh, that's so important. Yes.
Yeah.
So if you can quickly, and we won't go through all of them, but just the names, because I would love to hear them. I'm already looking forward to the book, because I'd love to understand what those complexities are. So did you say there were 6 of them?
Yes, I would need to kind of dig out the.
Oh no, that's okay. And you don't have to do that. But I'm just like, okay, that's totally.
Well, one of them we already covered. It's following the wrong mentor, the wrong guru, where you try to implement the strategies that you have been advised to do, or maybe you've been inspired to follow because you just respect that. To become as successful as they are by following their methods, right? So that's a big complexity trap, because we end up implementing someone else's success blueprint without understanding what's behind it, without understanding their personality. So that's one of the biggest complexity traps that I see out there, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to get the book to get the other 5.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. And so if they go to simplicityscircle.com, they can find all that information there. Okay.
They can download the free book. Yes.
Fantastic. So much good stuff here. The great part is that I think it was a very simple.
Yes.
It really was. So I have so many great takeaways that I've been scribbling down here. I'm definitely going to go straight to the unique marketing personality Tess, because I think that's, I just love things like that. The more that we can understand about ourselves and where we excel, it's always a really great thing. But I appreciate so much all that you shared with us today. I think it's phenomenal, and it's so great how you came to start this business just based on your own experience. So you really get it.
Based on the fact that you do podcasting, I will say that you're most likely a connector, and maybe in combination with another personality. But I will say I started 2 podcasts in the past, and I quit after 10 episodes. Each one. I just couldn't deal with it because I'm high-end builder. Builders are also a little bit more perfectionist, and they try to create things. So I treated each podcast episode as a product. And of course, that would take me the longest time. It would take me forever to build each episode.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I couldn't do that because I had to run the rest of my business, and I just had to let it go twice, which really tells me that I was not working. I was working outside of my marketing personality. And there's a lot more to understand about, how to translate your marketing personality into a successful business. But that's just an example of working outside of your marketing personality and how frustrated I was. Why can't I'm very self-disciplined. Why can't I stick to the podcast that I started twice?
Yeah.
That was very frustrating to me.
And then you had that. Well, and I'm sure even though this, it still comes up and it still happens. Like, I was saying earlier, with the way that things evolve so much, things pop up. And especially with a business, whether you're offering new services or whether you're bringing in new technologies, new team members, things come up and you go through that whole understanding of a new complexity all over again. So
I'm so glad you said that. Yes, it's so funny because as the creator of Simplicity Circle and this methodology and the unique marketing personality assessment, you'd think that I got it handled, right? You'd think that I have it mastered, but there are times when I have to remind myself, like, wait, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
This does not fit within my business model. No wonder I keep thinking about it, and I'm so indecisive about it, and I just can't figure out how to do these things because that is not based on my natural abilities. It's not based on my super skill where results come with ease, right?
Right.
So that's very important to understand and keep reminding yourself that to build right into your business everything you do personally. Right?
Yes, absolutely. Well, you're my favorite kind of leader. It's those who are continuing to learn with you as well. It's frustrating when, there's so many, phenomenal influencers out there, but they kind of seem too perfect and that they've got it all figured out. And I just love it when I'm, if I'm listening to an audiobook or someone like you who's like, hey, you still go through challenges and you still have to figure it out. And just because I, live by this principle doesn't mean that I'm always in that state of mind, because we're not. It's just not natural for humans to always be in the perfect mindset.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. So please head over for the quiz. It's uniquemarketingpersonality.com, and we will have a link to that. And it's also simplicitycircle.com. You can find the book with all the complexities. And Milana, you've been awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Summer. I shared a lot of things that I don't often share. So I'm excited to kind of get people inspired and looking in the direction of simplicity. And if you are on Facebook, definitely check out my free Facebook group called Simplicity Circle, where you will get together with other simplicity entrepreneurs and stay in the zone of simplicity.
Oh, fantastic. We'll have a link to that as well. Thank you again.
Thank you for listening to today's Get Genius. You can learn more about The Draw Shop at www.thedrawshop.com, on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Your home for kick-butt custom whiteboard marketing videos. Your ideas come to life. Thanks for listening. Please share, comment, and make any suggestions for future genius guests.